Great to be here with you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you the last couple of days. You are working with California Common Cause. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and what you sought to accomplish with the San Francisco Board of Supervisors last spring?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Chupkov. I am the Media and Democracy Program Manager at California Common Cause. And we at California Common Cause have been working on local journalism policy. It's my third year in the role. And one of the biggest things that we learned from trying to do statewide policy, including the UC, the Berkeley Local News Fellowship program, is that it's really hard to get things done on the state level. So we wanted to do something local. We wanted to do a pilot and really try to see and create a model that we can scale up. And so that's exactly what we did. We think San Francisco's a great model because it really focuses on coalition building and really power building within the newsroom. So we organized and kind of came up with a policy solution that we all kind of aligned on, and that is an advertising set aside, and we passed that at the Board of Supervisors. It's a non-binding resolution, but it sets the stage for the city to really buy into why we should be diverting advertising dollars so that it goes to more community and ethnic media.
So as I understand it, 50% of money that is set aside for government or city funds for marketing have to go to local and community papers, which is incredible.
Yeah, and the resolution really calls on departments who spend in advertising. It really calls them to spend and partner more with local and ethnic media. And actually, one example of how this resolution, even though it's non-binding, I'm like hustling, trying to get this resolution in front of as many city departments as possible. And the San Francisco Environment Office actually did a campaign in 2 neighborhoods in San Francisco, called me and said, who should we be advertising with? So those media outlets saw actual money just because of that resolution. And so we're hoping to continue to work with the departments and eventually make this law in San Francisco.
Yeah. I think it's a total win-win because the people in the city want to reach the local communities, and these are the outlets that have those relationships. But it didn't just happen overnight. What was your methodology, and how did you approach it?
Yeah, so I come from a community organizing background, and that is exactly what I did with Common Cause. We started by just meeting. We facilitated these monthly discussions with newsrooms in San Francisco that were struggling, and we just all kind of talked about what our vision is for San Francisco. The second thing we did, once we wanted to kind of focus on this unlocking of advertising dollars, we worked on 2 reports. The first one was in partnership with the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. The second report was an independent report that really focused on what the community needs were. So we did 12 focus groups in 6 different languages in San Francisco and really asked them, how do you get information? What are the gaps? And how would you like these city departments to be communicating with you? And so we actually have all of that in this cool report that's online. And we really think that this is a great model to really focus on the data, because that's what supervisors and policymakers need to make their case is data. And so after we had those two reports, then we did the resolution, which passed unanimously. And now we're working on implementing the resolution, and we want to bring this model to cities, more cities, and we really feel like San Francisco can be an incubator of so many policies that we can scale up and share with others.
That's fantastic. Is there anything specific from the research that you want to share in terms of what the impacts are?
So one of the key things that we kept hearing over and over again in these groups is the city, they're not getting reached. Like the city, like they feel like the city is not reaching them. And so that is why we kind of paired this assessment with policies recommendations that really came from what we heard from these focus groups. And so there's a bunch of policies recommendations in there as well. And we wanted to do more. And one of the other things we realized is there actually are a lot of gaps in San Francisco when it comes to local news. The indigenous community in San Francisco don't have a local newspaper. And there's all these communities that I think there's really a lot that we can be doing to fulfill in these information needs.
Yeah. And the data to me is really important because it makes the case, and for everybody who's left brain, that's great. But then you also did all this listening up front, and listening was really key to your strategy. Can you talk a little bit about why that was important and why that trust building was important?
Yeah, so in addition to the focus groups, we also made sure to interview the local news publishers in San Francisco. And we really wanted to build trust with the entire ecosystem. And we really wanted to lift up a lot of the voices in San Francisco. And so doing this report with so many different stakeholders really kind of built a level of trust. And now we're able to have these meetings with supervisors and really advocate for more policy solutions. And from these meetings with supervisors, actually a supervisor came to us saying he wanted to do the first ever city-backed grants program in a city in the country. So we're going to be working on that and
That's fantastic.
Getting that done. So that'll be super exciting.
Congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
So you identify as a person with a stutter. Mm-hmm. How do you feel that affected your ability to achieve these goals?
Yeah, so I'm a person who stutters. You might have heard it a little bit. And often when I tell people I stutter, I get that's okay, I stutter too, or you must have overcome it, you sound great. And I appreciate that, but me owning my stutter, it's more of I want to be kind of recognized that I do have a stutter and having a stutter is okay. And so for my whole life, I felt just when I was younger, felt really isolated in my experience as a stutter. And it was really painful. I was bullied and I never thought I would be successful. And I think a lot of you could even relate, being put on the spot, maybe not having the words and tripping up on your words. But for a stutter like me, every sentence is climbing a mountain. For some stutters, it's an uphill battle. For people like me who pass as fluent, it's like mental gymnastics, just navigating around my sentences. And it's an all day, every sentence thing. And so that's the part that people don't see in stuttering. And with Common Cause, this is the first job I've ever had where I own my stutter and using my stutter to build trust, because people really see that's vulnerability. And I've been so open with people, and I think that's why I've been so successful, really.
And to me, that's sort of so critical, that vulnerability, that taking something that is a challenge and turning it into an asset. So we have a clip to watch, and then we'll talk some more.
Okay.
Every stutter has their own personal journey with it. And so the more we talk about it, the more we can just understand those nuances in speech and how it might be impacting us.
I've been stuttering forever, right? It's like my little friend I have in my pocket.
I've had a stutter since I was 5. Stuttering has changed my life in many ways. Stuttering makes it super hard to talk and read in front of others, but stuttering makes me unique and not just an ordinary person.
I'm still gonna talk because I want to talk, and I don't want to learn a language just because my speech sounds a little different. So I think that's amazing.
It's great to see the community of folks come together from the different walks of life with a kind of a common thread of having a stutter.
You treat listening to anyone and being in a conversation with anyone as something collaborative.
It's really great to kind of know that there's a network of people out there that have your back and can relate to your shared experience.
It gives me a sense of pride to be a part of this community that is very close, like it's very small, and you know, you got to win the lottery to be a part of it.
I love that. Definitely using that clip.
So you may have picked up from the clip that Maya has a whole separate identity as the founder of the Proud Stutter podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about why you started the podcast and what the response has been?
Yeah, so I felt isolated for so much of my life because I thought I was the only person who stuttered. I never really met anyone. I wish I had something like Proud Stutter to make me feel less alone because that isolation was super painful. And so I started the podcast during the pandemic, and now it's a nonprofit. And we actually just celebrated our 3-year anniversary. And it was actually International Stuttering Awareness Day on Tuesday, so this is just amazing, the timing. And the impact we've had in just 3 years has been amazing. Like, we've won awards, we got featured in an ABC documentary, we got featured on Apple News, Apple New and Noteworthy list, and we're the #1 disability justice podcast on Apple Podcasts, so thank you. So I think I really struck a nerve, and it was more for me when I did it than anyone else, but there's just the outpouring of support. And just to name like a few other things that are in the works, because like I think there's so much more that we can do. We just got New York City to incorporate a class for 3rd graders in their curriculum about stuttering, and we're going to be in that curriculum, and that's where the change happens, in the classroom, exposing young people that non-standard speech is okay. And so yeah, that's just a huge accomplishment, and yeah.
And amazingly, in addition to the podcast, and your full-time job.
And we have a comic book too, which I brought a bunch of them. So if you guys want one, just come find me as well.
Fabulous. So comic book, podcast, community activist in San Francisco, and you're making a documentary. So tell us about that and why you are choosing to expand beyond the podcast.
So I was born and raised in Burbank, California, like the entertainment capital of the world, and I wasn't seeing stuttering on TV, and I've been wanting to be a documentary filmmaker since I was really young, and we actually got a grant from California Humanities to do a documentary as starter funds, and the documentary is about 2 Black men who stutter, one of which was actually in that clip, Jade Jordan. He's born and raised in Stockton, and then it's also about Isaac Bailey, who stutters. He is from St. Stephen, South Carolina, and it's really about their story because they come from different classes. Like Isaac, he grew up in deep poverty in the South during Jim Crow, and Jay, he grew up in an affluent neighborhood in Stockton, and both of them are impacted by the carceral system. And it's really their journey of coming to terms with their stutter, and now they both speak for a living. And that is the documentary we're making. And what's amazing about it is it's an almost all stuttering team that is working on it. And my co-director, Tessa Andrade, she actually made that clip, and that was kind of the start of us working on this film. And we just want to, and when we talk about impact, what I want to do is I want to start the impact campaign now. Like, I want to bring people who stutter and others on this journey from the very beginning. And while we were able to start filming, we have a huge vision for the film, and we're still fundraising right now to really get the funds to finish the film, and also get as many people who stutter from across the country to see this, and their loved ones, teachers, you name it. Stuttering intersects all things. So. Yeah.
Well, I think even in this tough environment, having that built-in audience, you've already got it from the podcast.
Right.
Now you've got sort of all those people in the stuttering community and their families. You have a great case to make. Any final thoughts you would like to share? I know you have an event coming up.
Yes, so I have an event coming up in Burbank because so much, I think the entertainment industry has so much power in shifting narratives, and I'm going right to their doorstep, and I'm throwing a big party in Burbank, and you all are invited. I'm not even kidding. It's going to be a huge event. We're having people who stutter come in all parts of entertainment. I don't know if you guys know this, but Ed Begley Jr. stutters, and he's going to be our VIP guest. And we have people who stutter from music, screenwriters, all these people, but we're also inviting allies and people who really want to learn, and to also have a broader vision of how can we make our stories more inclusive, how can we make our sets more inclusive. So that event is December 4th in Burbank, and if you have colleagues or anyone that you think would want to go, seriously, we're flying out, both Jay and Isaac. I'm using my own money to fly them out because I think it's important to get them together, and they've never met. So it's going to be so special, and I really hope you guys can be there. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Maya. This has been such a pleasure.